Hi, friends. This reflection is for the sixth Sunday of Ordinary Time. The prophet Jeremiah tells us, "Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, who hopes is in the Lord." Now, it's very poignant that Jeremiah talks about this because he gives us that what happens when we place our trust in God as what happens when we place our trust in princes, right? Now, Jeremiah, mind you, if in case you're not familiar with his background, he went through some trials, huge ones, one after another. Even though he was a prophet of the Lord, he was rejected, he was abandoned, he was abused, he was imprisoned, he even received death threats. Were all part of his life. Yet he endured this suffering because he trusts in God and he placed his hope in him. Now, the biggest picture is that we have to place our hope in God, who is all good and knows all, provides a bedrock on which to live a good life. Now, on the flip side, what happens? Well, let's see this. If we place our trust in people, let's say, when COVID happened, people placed their trust in these unelected officials who think they know everything because they have a background in science, right? And they felt, there shouldn't be any kind of Christians, fulfilling their obligation and what have you. But yeah, we were denied the Eucharist, right? Something to be learned from that, right? We couldn't place our trust in him. I think what's important to understand as we compare Jeremiah to the Gospel of Matthew, which gives us the Sermon on the Mount, and part of it is the beatitudes. St. Luke, there's two groups that we're talking about here. The first is the beatitudes that we commonly know about: those who are poor, who are hungry, who are weeping, who are persecuted, right? Now, people, when they think about poor, do they mean they don't have any money? No, not exactly. Now, let's face it, this is another time people really take things literally, right? But I think if there's something we can understand, the first beatitude that Jesus tells us is that we don't have, basically, we're not attached to anything on this earth. We're rather attaching ourselves to what is to come next, right? Yeah. Why do we have the Beatitudes? And what is the point of all this? It's to lay down the works of how we can trust God as opposed to trusting kings, princes, government officials, presidents. Because guess what? Christ is king, no matter who's in charge. Let's get that straight. And it's really amazing that, Jesus used the word blessed. Oftentimes, there would be other words used like happy and joyful, right? But blessed, I think, is a more appropriate way to describe it. If we are truly blessed, we will have the reward of the faith. Now, let's look at the second group that Jesus talks about. The second group represents those who are satisfied with all this world offers, not looking beyond themselves and not looking toward the Lord. Their faith, of course, is decided. In the Gospel of Luke, when we get to the Passion account, Jesus says this beautiful prayer. He says, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup away from me still. Not my will, but yours be done." What Jesus does in this prayer is that he humbly admits, it's your will that must be done, not mine. And I think oftentimes in our faith journey, we have struggled with this. Believe me, I struggle with it time after time. So you're not alone. But I think if there's one way that it helps me to retrack, is to always remember that God is present in your life, no matter how good, bad, ugly the day is. We always have to put our trust in God. In the coming weeks, the Catholic Church is going to be canonizing two extraordinary men to the title of sainthood, one of which will represent millennials. And if he was alive today, he would be about my age. Blessed Carlo Acutis. And let's face it, I couldn't think of a better time, a better time to canonize him than now. Carlo Acutis reminds us, our goal must be infinite, not definite. The infinite is our homeland. Heaven has been waiting for us forever. And he's right. God's goodness is a source of all things, and that we can glorify God in every moment. How did he do this? He drew strength from the Eucharist, which he called it his highway to heaven. And when he was battling leukemia at the age of 15, he offered it to God, the Pope, and the Church. And there's no question about it that there was no question, too, that he also wanted the people to be drawn more to the Eucharist, just as much as you and I want to. The other is Pier Frassati. And let's face it, his canonization will come just 100 years after his death. By yourself, you will not accomplish nothing. By yourself, you will accomplish nothing. But if you place God at the center of all your actions, then you'll reach the goal. And oftentimes, Frassati is said to the heights. I think Frassati wants us to understand that our goal is heaven. Jesus preached from a mountaintop. Do you ever notice that? He preaches from a mountaintop for a reason, right? And in one of the temptations, Jesus was at a mountain, and he could have easily said, okay, I want this, I want that. But Jesus knew that he had to overcome the power of Satan, in which he did. And that's our goal in life too. We have to overcome the unruly passions that are about us. We must look up. We must go to the heights, friends. And we must place our trust in God. So, friends, let us be poor. Let us hunger for truth. Let us thirst for God. And let's be willing to be persecuted for his name's sake. If we do all these things, rejoice. Our reward is heaven. Always remember, our goal is heaven, friends. And it begins now. God bless.